So now let's get started with the next one. I'll be implementing feature that is updating the project title. Currently, even though we change it, it doesn't do anything. When I refresh it, bring it back to previous one, right? So which is not good. So what I would start with will be going into this component. So needed to go to projects, the projects item. I believe we have this one, right? So we have a form inside it, right? So this is what we have at the moment. So as you can see, there is no mechanism to update the data. So let's just start with the breaking the component into smaller one, I would say. So what I would do is creating a component called, oops, let me just remove, component called project title, project's title update form, okay? Or project's update form, yeah, whatever you call it, right? Yeah, you can change later if you need, right? But for now, I'm gonna leave this way. So I'm gonna create the component and then change the name to project update form. Great. So now I'll be moving this component to this form, okay? Awesome. And then I'll be importing everything and then save to remove something that I don't need, right? And then I'll be importing the component in the item. So here, project update form, right? Awesome. So I think we have one red line. That is because we have a title right here, right? Currently, if we refresh it, weird thing is popping up, right? Next to server, blah, 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 blah. That is because we don't have the title. The title is coming from process, right? So which is wrong. So in order to prevent this issue, I'll be getting props, type props, getting the title. That is project from Prisma client, that is title. You probably find the pattern that I do this way. That is because in case I change the type of the title in the project record, then I don't need to replace it every single place. Title is prop, right? So it's one global way of updating the type in the future, just in case. I don't know. It's just a small habit, right? So title, which is good. And then we're gonna pass the title over here. Title, come on, title. Great. So now it's already looking the same, right? So in this update form, when I update the form, I need to send the request to the server, right? We can leave it as a client component. So I'm gonna give use client here, okay? The reason why I want to keep this user client is we needed to debounce. I don't want to save the data whenever I change the input right here, right? So each keystroke, I don't want to update it. I want to debounce in certain time. And then when user stops stroking, I want to send request to update the data. So that is what I want to achieve, right? So to do that, I need to have a mechanism to change things, okay? So here, what I will do is I'm gonna have const, and then I will have the value, and then set value, and then use state to keep the string initially empty string. Oh, sorry, initially title. Great. So with this one, I'm gonna pass default value to value, and then I'm gonna set the value whenever user stroking the key, okay? So here I'm gonna do on change, I'll be setting that. Okay, so here it's up to you if you want to create one handler. In my case, handle value change. Okay, awesome. And then when I handle the value change, I'll be receiving some event. Okay, here we're gonna accept the change event with the HTML input element. Okay, so here I'll be accepting event, and then event that is change event that is for HTML input element. Let me just try to make it smaller. Awesome. So now in this function, in this handler, I'll be updating the value. Okay, so here I'll be updating the value, set value with the event target the value. To you if you want to make it as a value. Here I'll be building some mechanism. Okay, so send the request only when, so here send request out when we have value debounced. Okay, so that is something that I would give it for. So here I'll be building some mechanism. I'm gonna have use effect. Okay, so use effect, and then inside of the use effect, whenever value changes, okay, I'll be adding the set timeout. Okay, set timeout after certain time. Okay, let's say 1 second, and then new state called set debounced value, and then this one will be debounced value. So here, whenever after 1 second, I'll be setting the value to debounce the value. Okay, so but one thing we need to do is we need to cancel the set timeout. So whenever user change the value while keystroking here, so when it's unmounted, I want to cancel this out, timeout here. Okay, awesome. And then pass the ID here. So I'll be putting console log somewhere. Maybe we can put it here. So here I'm gonna console log, console.log. I'm gonna say debounced. Okay. So here, if you take a look now, once I keep on stroking, it doesn't print anything. But after 1 second, I stopped. It says debounced, right? So take a look like this, right? I'm gonna have another use effect. Whenever my debounced value changes, update record. So that is what I want to do, right? So I'm gonna put log update record, right? So now let's delete this guy, and then let's just try to take a look, right? So we need to know the time that we need to update. Yeah, this is when I want to update. You see update to record, right? That's what I want to do. So now our component is getting bigger, in my opinion. So I would build a hook to separate the logic into some reactor hook. Okay, so here I'll be creating debounced hooks in the hooks folder. We don't have hooks folder, right? Let me just quickly check. Yeah, we don't have it, right? So let's create hooks folder. Let's do use debounce.ts. So I'm gonna mark it as ts because I'm not gonna build the JSX, right? So let's quickly fix it. Use the debounce, and then I'll be returning something else. Okay, so in here I'll be moving all the logics that we just built here into my hook. Okay, so it is just to minimize the, it's like a, you can think it as a helper function, just separating the logic, but it is for React to specific. It's a stateful helper function. You can think it that way. So here I'm gonna have this guy too, right? So here, what is gonna happen will be when changes, which is varu, okay? So varu, that is a string, okay? And then second thing is delay. It's going to be a number, okay? And then number by default, it's going to be maybe 200 milliseconds. So here, let's just try to swap things around, right? So delay by default is 200 milliseconds, but it can be customizable. At the same time, the value that we are receiving here will be debounced after 200 milliseconds in this case, right? So whenever this value changes, right, we're gonna do that. Yeah, great. Oh, sorry, I think we need to add delay as well. So delay, great. And then I'll be just returning this debounced value. Maybe we can change a little bit shorter. Set debounced. Set debounced. We don't want to have the name too long, right? So which is great. So initially empty string, but then we're gonna set the debounced value. Let's see. I might need to debug what I'm building, but let's give it a shot. So here, since I'm using the hook, I'm gonna use debounce, and then I'll be passing the value that we are receiving here whenever things changes. And then I'm gonna give, I'll be using default delay, that is 200 milliseconds. And then what we are receiving will be debounce to, right? So when debounce changes, I'll be updating the record. So let me just try it out, right? So if it's working, okay. If not, I need to debug. So here, let's change it. Update the record. Update the record, right? So after 200 milliseconds, it's changing. But in 200 milliseconds, if a user keeps on stroking, then we are not gonna update the record, right? So let's stop. Okay, awesome. So this is what we want to use, right? So now here, I'll be sending server action. So I'll be going to the Leap projects actions here. So we were able to create it. So now we're gonna update it. So export const update project. Awesome. Async. And then here, we're gonna receive something, but in this case, I'll be using create project payload here, right? So in this case, I'm gonna have update project payload. Okay. So here, pick, and then I'm gonna pick from project, and then what I'll be picking will be ID and title. Great. So I'll be getting the title and then ID, right? So awesome. So do I have a syntax error? Yes, I do. So here I'm gonna get the, let me just make it bigger. Here I'm gonna receive ID and then title, right? So which is good. So with the ID, I'll be checking if the record is existing, right? So const the project await prisma dot project dot find unique. Okay, so I'll be finding the unique record using the ID. Okay, ID, right? So if the project does not exist, then we needed to do something about it, right? So in this case, I'm gonna return. So let's just set the return type project, we're going to do exactly the same as up there, right? So promise, and then it's going to be action state that is passing project. Okay, awesome. So here we're gonna send the code and the message and data, right? So if a project does not exist, then we need to send the code. We're gonna say Part4, and then we're gonna send error, that is new error, and then not found project with the ID, and then this one will be just the ID. Otherwise, I'll be updating the record, right? So here await prisma.project.update, right? So here I'll be finding the record using where clause and then ID, and then I'll be passing the data that I want to update, that is title that we are receiving up here, right? So which is good. But of course, some error could happen in between, right? So if error happens, then we need to do something else, right? So here I'm gonna rep try and catch, okay? So try and catch, and then I'll be moving holding to down here. So in the try, we're gonna do something. If something happens while we're interacting with the database, then we're gonna send the internet server error, right? So return, I'm gonna do the code is going to be 500. Sorry, I think we have the enum to use, right? So let's try to use enum. So in this case, not found, instead of 404, we're gonna do the status code dot not found, right? Awesome. And then I'll be using status code dot internet server error, right? And then I'll be passing error, and then it's going to be new error, and then something went wrong while updating a project, right? So which is good. And then we're gonna do console dot error, dot error, and then pass the error here. Awesome. But if things are successful, right? If we successfully update the record, right? So update it, then we're gonna revalidate it, okay? So here, what I would do is revalidate the path, that is projects, right? So in this page, right? And then we're gonna return the data that is necessary. So in this case, I will be sending the code, that is status code, and then okay, right? So 200 is good for this one. And then I'll be passing the data, that is updated, and the message, right? Successfully updated project. Awesome. So I think this one is pretty good in my opinion. It's a little longer because some business logic is happening. If you are not happy with this server actions, like getting too big, then you probably need to create the service layer to separate the logic, okay? But for now, let's not go in that much deep. This one is pretty good at this point for now, okay? So here, update the project. Let's try to do that here. So what I would do is const and then result, or you can destructure initially and then await. We cannot await here, right? So we need to build a small function. Here, we're gonna build another wrapper here, so we don't need to worry. So we're gonna pass the data that is ID, right? So we can receive the ID from here and the title, right? So we're gonna pass the ID and then title, that is debounced. Awesome. So, but we cannot give the async function to use affected directly. So what it means, we needed to build a small callback function, right? So here what I would do is creating update project callback maybe, and then I'm gonna use user callback so that we're not gonna regenerate this function all the times, right? So here what I will be building will be the function that is async, okay? And then we are gonna pass this guy inside here. So here we can use the action payload directly here, so which is this guy. And then what we are going to receive in this parameter will be ID and title, okay? So with that ID, I'll be passing the title and the title here. And then inside the use effect, I'll be calling update project callback, okay? So which is good. So here we need to pass the right arguments, right? So here ID and the title that is debounced. Awesome. So I think looking good in my opinion. We are caching it, right? So that we're not gonna regenerate every time, right? And then we're gonna have some code and data and then error, right? Based on what we need, right? But in this case, what we need is just the data and error. So because I'll be just throwing the toast, right? So toast sooner and then a success. If the data existing, then I'll be sending the toast that is success. Oh, we need message too, sorry. So message, and then with the message passing. Great. But if error existing, then I'll be sending the error message, toast dot error, and then it's going to be error dot message. Great. So this one is update the project callback, and then we're calling that inside here, and then I'm gonna pass when if ID changes too. So here ID. Great. So technically we don't need this, but let's pass it since I don't want to see the warning, right? Yeah, I think it's looking good. Why ID is complaining? That is because we have not received the ID from the parent component, right? So let's just receive it, ID, and then project, and then ID. Awesome. So then let's receive from the parent component right here. ID is from project right here. So let's give it. So in this case, let me just try to refresh. Looking good. Oh wow, some infinite loop is happening. Let's, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. So let me just try to see what is happening, right? Let me see what is causing. We can debug here. So since this one is client component, your component is available over the browser. So here project update form, okay? So now what I would do is putting breakpoint here and then restart. Okay, so it's gonna stop. So debounced is empty, and then title, let's put some variables here. So let's clean all up. Here I'm gonna do title, and then I'll be having debounced. Okay, debounced is empty. Title, it's not in the scope, right? So make the title is available in this scope. Let's refresh because it's broken. Come on. Okay, so when it's stopped, title is 1 to 3, but debounced is an empty string, right? So here, the debounced, I'll be passing the value exactly the same to start with, right? so that we are gonna have one less re-rendering. And then another thing is we are gonna send request only when the project title that is entered newly, so this title and the debounced value should be different, then we're gonna send this request. Okay, so here to do that, I'm gonna have one if statement. I'm gonna have title and then it's not equal to debounced, then I'll be calling this function. Before then, I'm not gonna call it. Okay, so let's give it a shot. What's gonna happen if we do that? Oh, great. So it fixes. So let me just try to, okay, so now it's working pretty well. Okay, so looking good. Let me just refresh one more time. Okay, so looking good. And then let me just remove everything. So here now, let's try to test a couple of things. So when it's going to get saved properly, but when something goes wrong in the server action, such as like ID1, yeah, something went wrong while updating, right? So which is good. And then if ID that is not found, let's say 100, let's give it a shot. So now found the project with ID 13, right? So that is good. And then, okay, let's organize a little bit. Use effect will be somewhere at the top, right? And then this guy, callback, we can pass it over here too. But here, and then what is causing the issue? The title changes. Here I have a title here too, right? So let's organize a little bit. So ID and then title and debounce, update the project callback, and then I have just a small handler down here. Okay, so make sure there is no dependency inside, right? Okay, looking good. Awesome. So I'm gonna make a commit. Okay, so here I'll be doing git add, git commit, implement auto update, auto title update. Awesome.